Too many at the bar last night, bud? Too many whiskey bar limes? Little bit of anxiety this morning over which ex you texted, what picture you can hang in the old Louvre of regret.
Anxiety. Now, this is the condition where you wake up with a hangover after the night before.
The more alcohol that someone drinks, the more that there's a physiological effect where it actually increases anxiety levels.
Might have you thinking maybe we should slow it down, bud. Maybe we should stop. And if you flipped on any sort of like podcasts or social media lately, or just like, you know, left the house, you realize that you ain't the only one. Hey, I'm Sambo. I'm an alcoholic and a junkie, non-practicing for over 4 years now. And if you are an alcoholic like me who is currently drinking, probably not the video for you. You should probably go seek medical assistance, you know, medical treatment if you are trying to stop. But if you are sober curious and you're kind of toying with the idea about whether or not you should stop drinking, maybe it's kind of like, you know, piquing your interest a little bit, then today we're going to go over 3 questions that you can ask yourself about whether or not that would be a good decision for you, with a bonus kind of golden rule at the end, which is definitely kind of an indicator that you should or shouldn't stop. Now, let me be the first to say that I love drugs and alcohol. I am just not somebody that can do them. 1 is too many, 1,000 is not enough. I don't know when to stop. I just keep going. And let me also say without a doubt that there are benefits to quitting drinking. You sleep fantastic. You look and feel, you know, way healthier. When you go out, you can, you know, eat out at half the cost or a fraction of the cost because you're not buying fucking booze. And like, to be honest, my new like drug of choice now is an 8-hour sleep. It's just the fucking best. And while there are benefits to quitting, there's no doubt benefits to drinking. Alcohol is a elite social lubricant. There's nothing that beats it. Makes small talk bearable. We love it for that. And I think there's a reason why wine is like over 6,000 years old, because as humans, life is hard and life has been hard for eternity. And sometimes we just don't want to deal. Quitting drinking, however, now seems to be in vogue, which I'm a little bit kind of bitter about, because when I quit, it was not in vogue. It was not cool. Rehabs, psych wards, hospitalizations, totally uncool. But it's interesting because partying and drinking was sort of celebrated no less than a decade ago, and over that time we've kind of seen a shift into this zeitgeist of sobriety where more and more people are, you know, dialing back their drinking or going kind of outright sober. And when I look at that, I think there's kind of like a few different reasons as to why, you know, more and more influential people are now getting sober and like actively talking about it.
I stopped drinking and I just kind of put the weight off.
Really? So you stopped drinking and the weight just, because they say that's, yeah, that can really make a huge difference.
Yeah.
The dangers of alcohol are being discussed kind of like across the board. We're seeing things like cannabis and like even psychedelics in some country start to rise in prominence in terms of like their legal status and kind of recreational use. I just think there's also like generally more awareness around, you know, mental well-being and kind of wanting to feel good and have, yeah, a good sense of well-being. And all these things are really great reasons to like stop drinking. But the fact remains that like more and more people are becoming curious. Now I'm gonna do us all a big favor here and refrain from using like the nomenclature that surrounds alcoholism, addiction, sobriety. Those are kind of big words that carry a lot of weight. Things like alcoholic, you know, recovery, etc., etc. But I am going to use one of those terms, which is, you know, problem drinking or problem drinker. And when I say problem drinker or problem, you know, drinking, we're gonna use that in the context of it's really kind of negatively impacting your life. The 3-question model for the 3 areas of life was kind of shared with me by a previous therapist to determine if you are engaging in problem drinking. And that's what we're going through today for you to make that decision, because I have been through this myself, my own experience, but you know yourself best. You're kind of the person to ultimately make that call. And those 3 areas that this 3-question model kind of revolve around is yourself, your craft, and the people around you. And if you're enjoying this video, would love for you to comment, subscribe, share, comment your experience with quitting drinking, the benefits it's had for you, the changes you saw, all that. Would appreciate it the most. Love ya. Let's start with the easiest one that I feel, which is yourself. Both the physical and mental impact that drinking does have on you. The physical is pretty straightforward. If your drinking is having an impact on your physical health, I'd probably stop, probably dial it back. If you're falling and banging your head, or like you're having like organ pain or whatever drinking can cause, yeah, it's probably problematic. Mental, on the other hand, is a little bit trickier because we're really weighing the pros and cons of drinking here. Drinking alcohol is fun. Alcohol when you're partying and drinking, is pretty fucking fun. If you're throwing back beers, Jaeger bombs, whiskey bar limes, whatever like the big fucking thing is these days, it's a great time. If you're dancing and shit, love it. Alcohol also lowers your judgment and inhibitions and can cause you to do really stupid shit. So if you're engaging in really kind of dangerous activity, a lot of regrettable one-night stands, less than ideal. But then really kind of the biggest negative impact that we do see with alcohol is really the day after, where you got to pay the piper. What goes up must come down, right? Joked before, but like alcohol is a depressant and hangovers are a big deal, especially nowadays with social media and your phone. You look at it the next day, like, who the fuck did I text? You see pictures. I just like, I'm going back there mentally right now, and it's just not a great place. But the anxiety is like big time real. And so this was me, like would love to go out 6-7 hours, bang back a few pints, get loose, love it. And then the next day I'd wake up with just crippling anxiety and just like blacking out, wondering what I did, just the worst. The question here for how alcohol is impacting your life is kind of really looking at if the, Saturday night of debauchery, 6 to 7 hours fucking getting after it with your friends, having a good time, is really worth, the next day, the Sunday, where it's filled with a sense of impending doom, that despair, that anxiety. What does that trade-off really look like? And also too, those decisions that you're making when you're drunk, like, are they yielding a net positive impact? Again, up to you. The second that we're going to talk about is how it's impacting your craft. So when I say your craft, it's kind of like an all-encompassing term of your hobbies, your job, your goals, your gumption for life, bud. We all have that that really gets us up in the morning, that passion. We've all looked at what our lives will look like in 20, 30, 40 years and what we're doing to kind of get there. And alcohol, to some degree or another, will always have an impact on us kind of getting those goals. Now, I'd be remiss and disingenuous if I didn't acknowledge the small subset of people who can tie one on, just get absolutely waxed, and then, the next day they're up at 6 a.m. going for a run. They got eggs Benny on the table by 8, and then they're just doing it. And like, I salute to those people, like, fuck, good on you, but that is few and far between. A lot of people, and the majority of people that I know, is they'll have a Mike Singletary glass of vino and they're feeling it the next day. Like, the next day is a struggle. They're on the penalty kill, as we say in hockey terms, Canadian if you can't tell. They're on the penalty kill the next day. They're just not at 100%. And for those people, which was myself included, that really diminishes their ability to realize their full potential. That promotion that you're jonesing for, whatever your fitness goals in the gym, I don't know, you're budgeting, saving, anything. If you're not 110 or 100% even, it's always going to kind of diminish that ability. And that was me. I had all these things that I wanted, all these goals I was working towards that I could just never get to. And I always say, sobriety, recovery, there goes me using those fucking terms, slap on the wrist. I always say not drinking and kind of quitting promised me what I dreamed about when I was drinking. So basically I was not able to kind of realize those things until I got sober. So barring those beautiful small subset of people who just like no hangovers, no issues, they just wake up, they're good to go, the question to ask yourself is, it's not if it is impacting your ability to kind of help reach your goals or perfect your craft or master your hobbies or anything like that. It's not a question about if, it's how much. And then lastly is looking at how that drinking is impacting others around you, your loved ones, your friends, your family, the relationship that you're in. What impact does it have on that? We know that alcohol lowers judgment, it lowers inhibition, which is a really like kind of nice way for saying alcohol makes people say and do really dumb shit that has consequences and impacts the people around them. I think about myself in particular. For me, desperately needed approval from everybody around me, so I was a clown and would always try to make people laugh. And when I would do that, I would say shit that was offensive or mean and would insult somebody or piss people off. Or if I think about like any relationship I had pre getting sober, every single conflict, issue, fight, alcohol was involved, like without fail. And so the question for this really is, how often is alcohol involved with any interpersonal conflicts that you're having with another person? Even for people who aren't problem drinkers, the majority of their their fights with their partner, there's alcohol involved. And so coming back to these three areas, right? So we have how it's impacting yourself, how it's impacting your craft, and how it's impacting those around you. And essentially kind of weighing those out to see if it's having a net positive impact on your life. And what she had kind of said to me, this is my old therapist, was saying that if it's impacting at least 2 out of 3 of those areas in a net negative way, probably have, some problem drinking. And if you're looking at this for yourself and you kind of see there's some negative impact and you're kind of hitting that 2 out of 3 threshold, or even if you're not, it might be worth just giving it a crack, like dialing it back or stopping, like see what happens. Like the thing is that I'll talk about the benefits of drinking till I'm blue in the face, because they're definitely there. You could always go back. Like it's always there. I always kind of think about that for myself. Obviously I was a little bit too much into it, but I always kind of think I can go back and kind of refund my misery in full. And I think that same kind of logic applies here, where it's like, yeah, you know what, if it's having a net negative impact and you want to see if it's going to be beneficial for you, or you see kind of positive changes as a result of quitting, try it out for 3 to 6 months. It's not going anywhere. You could always go back. Now for the golden rule, not the golden rule, my golden rule about whether or not you should stop. I'm just going to throw another disclaimer on this, because when it comes to anything around substance use and things like problem drinking and those terms that I said I wasn't going to use before, it's a very dogmatic approach, I find, especially with a lot of groups around stopping drinking. It's very much like, this is the way you have to do it. Don't do it this way. Only this is the way you can do it. I just really don't love that. There's so many ways to do so many different things. So like that, but I do feel pretty strongly about this. And the golden rule that I kind of establish whenever someone kind of comes to me and they're like, oh, like I know someone who's so-and-so, or like I know myself, or what have you, the golden rule that I kind of always go by is that if you've ever wondered if you have a drinking problem, by virtue of that, you have a drinking problem. People who don't have a drinking problem don't wonder if they have a drinking problem. When my fiance and I go out for dinner, like she might get a cocktail, she might get a glass of wine, and then once she gets that, she might finish it. She doesn't know. It's not something that ever really enters her brain in terms of like, do I have like this unhealthy relationship with alcohol? Because she can take it or leave it. It doesn't impact her life negatively. It's never led to her making extremely poor decisions. And so whether like a series of like unfortunate consequences as a result of drinking, or like someone in your life coming to you with concern has led you to like think about like, do I have a problem, or like what, is this unhealthy, or like if you get to that stage, you probably do. And like, even just like if you're watching this right now and kind of realizing that you have wondered that before, and that's kind of like difficult to hear, I totally get that. It's like really hard to accept something like that about yourself, or like even question that, or still kind of think that about yourself, and adjusting to that. And one of the things I really want to do with this is kind of create a community where there's tips kind of being thrown around about, quitting drinking, what that process looks like, adjusting to life without alcohol, and the benefits that get seen. And it's a lot easier to kind of make those changes and to not feel like you're so alone when you see other people are doing it. There is a certain 12-step fellowship that is supposed to be anonymous, so I'm not going to say the name of it, but it involves people who are looking to stop drinking and stay sober. I was definitely very much a part of in early sobriety, not as much, so a little bit involved today, but that was like a huge thing for me, because all this that drinking brought into my life, I really felt like I was very alone, very isolated within this, and I was the only one going through this. And then I walked into one of those fellowships where people were talking about all the that they went through, and someone's like, hey, then I got my 5th DUI, and you're like, oh my god, you got 5 of those. Or like, yeah, I ended up in the hospital one time with brain swelling because I drank so much that it depleted all of the sodium in my body. My brain was literally like under so much pressure that I could have died. And then first meeting, someone else was talking about how they went through that, and suddenly I was not like the only person who had brain swelling that almost took them out. But the point being is that the way to go about something like stopping drinking, adjusting to that life, is community. It's fucking you and me. It's going about it as a squad. It's not isolation. It's not going it alone. It's finding your community, understanding what other people are doing, how they're adjusting. Maybe there's this new mocktail that they love. Maybe there is a great way to do an Irish exit. I don't know. But I can tell you the way to not go about this is isolation and going it alone and figuring it out on your own. When it comes to making those adjustments and tips, I'll certainly be, making a video on that. But yeah, would love to hear kind of your tips, your benefits since quitting drinking or drinking less. If you feel so inclined, subscribe, share, like, all that shit. Love ya. We'll see you in the next video.